Kind of testing now being given to workers inside the West Wing. Tonight, the changes inside the White House. The president saying he is now requiring everyone entering the West Wing to wear a mask or facial covering after two people close to the president and vice president test positive. Some White House workers now tested daily. With the country beginning to reopen, will Americans have the same opportunity to be tested before they return to work? How the president answered that. Some members of the White House task force now in self-quarantine, including Dr. Fauci in modified quarantine tonight. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo saying New York City will not reopen until June unless a miracle happens, as parts of upstate New York prepare to reopen. At least 45 states now easing restrictions, but how many have shown 14 days of declines in cases? The president's own guidelines. And many Americans who want to go back to work are also still worried about their health. And the images of Americans in close quarters, from California to a packed restaurant on Mother's Day in Colorado, the beaches in Naples so crowded, authorities have moved in again. And tonight, the growing concern about that deadly condition doctors believe is linked to coronavirus in children. At least 10 states now reporting cases. Overseas tonight, why what we're seeing there could help us prepare for what could come here at home. In Paris tonight, people emerging from their homes for the first time in 55 days. But at the same time, the worries tonight in South Korea, where their lockdown was praised. Now fears of a second wave, word tonight of one man possibly infecting more than 80 people. Here at home, the doctor who came to New York to treat infected patients capturing images on this flight, raising new questions about safety and seating. Tonight, the newly obtained surveillance showing Ahmaud Arbery minutes before he was killed. The Department of Justice now looking into the case. And the 3-minute call on Zoom and 3,500 workers learning they are out of work. The Uber executive and the backlash tonight. And we celebrate here the life of a comedy veteran.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us as we start another week here together. And we begin tonight with the coronavirus reaching right into the White House. Two people close to the president and vice president now testing positive. Some White House workers are now being tested daily. You'll remember we asked the president nearly a week ago if every American should have access to a test before they head back to work, for reassurance, to see if they've been exposed, or to simply make sure a coworker isn't asymptomatic but contagious. Well, tonight that question is being asked again and with a renewed urgency. Because if White House workers are now getting these tests, should American workers have access to the test too? How the president answered that late today. And tonight we take note of the toll. The virus has taken more than 80,000 lives now in our country. Late today, the president saying he has ordered changes at the White House. At the Rose Garden event, the press secretary seen wearing a mask, as well as members of the Secret Service and the president's senior advisor, son-in-law Jared Kushner. 3 task force members were not there, the CDC director, the FDA commissioner, and Dr. Anthony Fauci, all of whom are now under self-quarantine or some kind of modified quarantine after possible exposure to one of the White House staffers. Often at those task force meetings, Katie Miller, the vice president's press secretary, who is now tested positive. The vice president was not seen at today's event, but his office says he has tested negative and will not quarantine, and that many White House employees will have access to regular tests. So the questions today, will Americans get that access too? The president said every American who needs one can get one. But he was pressed, and our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, asking, should Americans have the same access to tests as workers at the White House?
Today in the Rose Garden, a sign of a new White House reality. Almost everyone wearing masks.
Just about everybody I've seen today has worn a mask. Yeah.
Were you the one who required that, sir?
Yeah, I did. I required it.
At least 2 people close to the president have tested positive, one of his military valets and the vice president's press secretary, Katie Miller. Senior staff at the White House are now getting tested every day, a luxury that's not available to most of the country, even as the president urges states to reopen. When will it be that Americans across the country will be able to get tested every day as they go back to work?
Very soon. I mean, really very soon.
But should people be told to go back to work until they have that assurance that they and their co-workers are able to get a test, which we're still not there?
We're leaving that up to the governors, as you know, and if we see something wrong, we'll call them out and we'll stop it. But we are leaving it up to the governors.
A follow-up from ABC's Jordan Phelps.
Mr. President, there does seem to be a double standard here, Mr. President, where members of your own staff can get tests frequently when they need it. But ordinary Americans cannot. So when will the rest of America have the same access that members of your own White House have to testing?
If we did no tests in the White House, you'd be up complaining, why aren't you getting tests for the White House? See, we can't win, because if we didn't get the test, you'd be up. I understand you very well, better than you understand yourself. And frankly, if we didn't get tests done, you'd be up complaining.
But the president also insisted this.
If somebody wants to be tested right now, they'll be able to be tested.
If I can just get a clarification on the testing. We've seen clearly that the numbers of tests have gone up. There have been some advancements in testing. But you've said twice here today that every American who wants a test can get a test.
Yes.
That's not the case. 1.9 million tests per day is far short of every American that wants a test to be able to get it.
Well, I'm going to have the Admiral, but I will say, just from listening and hearing like you do, we all do, not everybody should get a test, because they have to have certain things, and they're going to know when they're not feeling right. Those are the people that will be getting the test. But Admiral, I'll let you take it from there, please.
So everybody who needs a test can get a test. We have plenty of tests for that. Right now in America, anybody who needs a test can get a test in America with the numbers we have. If you are symptomatic with a respiratory illness, that is an indication for a test, and you can get a test.
So Americans who are going back to work shouldn't expect and shouldn't want to have the same thing that people coming to work here at the White House have, which is the ability to get tested regularly, regardless of symptoms?
Let me clarify as well. People who come into close contact with the president get tested on a regular basis, okay? If I were not in close contact with the president specifically, I would not get tested.
The press conference ended with this tense exchange.
You said many times that the U.S. is doing far better than any other country when it comes to testing.
Yes.
Why does that matter? Why is this a global competition to you if every day Americans are still losing their lives and we're still seeing more cases every day?
Well, they're losing their lives everywhere in the world, and maybe that's a question you should ask China. Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay? When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer. Yes, behind you, please.
Sir, why are you saying that to me specifically?
I'm telling you, I'm not saying it specifically to anybody. I'm saying it to anybody that would ask a nasty question like that.
That's not a nasty question.
Please go ahead.
Uncomfortable moment late in the day at that press conference in the Rose Garden. Let's bring back in John Karl live tonight, because, John, in addition to being asked if American workers, you asked this question, should have same access to tests as the White House, the president was also asked today if, as a precautionary measure, if he would separate himself from Vice President Mike Pence, of course, whose press secretary has now tested positive.
And, David, he said that he has not been with Pence since that positive test came in on Friday. I am told that the vice president plans to spend another day or two away from the president, and assuming he still continues to get negative test results every day, he will be back with the president and at the White House by the middle of the week.
All right, John Karl pressing the president on testing today. John, thank you. And tonight, as America slowly tries to reopen, the news here in the epicenter, New York, the governor today saying New York City will remain shut down until June unless there's a miracle, he said, as parts of upstate New York now prepare to reopen. And tonight we have new reporting here finding that the city might have undercounted the number of deaths here by more than 5,000. Here's ABC's Tom Llamas.
Tonight, the state at the center of the coronavirus outbreak, taking its first steps towards reopening.
It's an exciting new phase. We're all anxious to get back to work.
But in hard-hit New York City, no major changes until June. Still too dangerous. Tonight, new analysis from the CDC reveals the toll in the city could be worse than first thought. Nearly another 5,300 deaths may be directly or indirectly linked to the pandemic. 45 states have now eased restrictions, but before reopening, many of those states had not met the White House guidelines calling for a 14-day decline in cases. In California, defiance of county shutdown orders, Tesla restarting its assembly line. Yesterday, thousands packing this rodeo in northern rural California.
We have constitutional rights. We have inalienable rights given to us by God.
In Colorado, crowds filling this cafe.
Man, it feels like a couple months ago, you know? It feels normal.
In Naples, Florida, a new crackdown. Beaches there closed all over again after scenes like this. Beachgoers not practicing social distancing. And now health officials on the lookout for a new concern, that mysterious illness in children. Doctors calling it pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome. 10 states investigating potential cases, 93 possibly in New York. At least 3 children dying of the mysterious illness linked to the virus.
So what you're finding is the child first gets infected with COVID, sees some COVID symptoms, and then weeks later, there's sort of like this new illness with the mysterious symptoms.
That's what it's looking like so far, yes. Again, we still have a lot to learn, but it seems to be that this is an inflammatory response to the viral infection, that there may be a timing issue of a couple weeks.
In Detroit, 9-year-old Josie Paskvin had high fever and red eyes off and on for a week.
My tummy hurted and my throat was like dry.
Doctors say the virus triggered an overreaction from the immune system, causing inflammation, similar to Kawasaki disease.
All we could think about is her little heart and, what could happen.
Josie is now responding well to the treatment, the same type used for Kawasaki disease.
Stay healthy. Stay strong.
And David, that doctor we spoke to who's been treating children here in New York City with those rare illnesses say she has noticed something interesting. Usually Kawasaki syndrome affects children under the age of 5, but with this new rare illness they think is linked to COVID-19, they're noticing it in older kids, even young adults. David?
It's very troubling, and we'll continue to follow this. Tom Llamas, our thanks to you tonight. And, of course, here in the U.S., a lot of eyes on what's playing out overseas as countries reopen ahead of us and what they're now seeing. Paris tonight opening for the first time in 55 days. And in South Korea tonight, praised for their lockdown and early action. Are they now seeing troubling signs of a possible second wave? Reports one man possibly infecting more than 80 people. ABC's Maggie Rulli from Paris tonight.
Tonight, Paris coming out in full force the second the lockdown was lifted. Hundreds lining the waterways as people are allowed to leave their home without a permission slip for the first time in 55 days. Police forced to break up small groups. Many stores getting back to business.
Public transit is open here in Paris, but masks are mandatory.
The government handing out more than 4 million masks this week to riders. In the UK, more commuters are also returning to work. Tonight, the government releasing a 51-page plan on reopening the country after Prime Minister Boris Johnson was criticized for giving the public confusing guidance. But as lockdowns relax, the ever-present fear of another wave. South Korea, a country that was quick to flatten the curve, is now reporting more than 80 new cases, all linked to one person who visited 5 different clubs on one night. The government now tracing thousands of people. In Wuhan, China, the original epicenter, reporting a cluster of new cases for the first time in a month. In Brazil, shocking scenes of crowds dancing and singing, even as the country's death toll soared past 11,000, with many fearing it could become the next global epicenter. Still, there are encouraging signs of a return to normal. Shanghai Disney's reopening, but at a third of its capacity with strict social distancing guidelines.
And some schools here in France are set to open tomorrow. Now, about that children's illness, that's a major concern in the U.S. and elsewhere. Well, officials here in France say they've seen similar cases and are taking them very seriously. But there's been very little reporting on the disease here since the end of last month. David?
All right, Maggie Rulli live in Paris tonight. Maggie, thank you. Here at home, as this country prepares to reopen, new questions about the safety of flying. All major U.S. airlines requiring passengers and crew to wear masks now. But look at this image captured by a doctor on a cross-country flight to New York. He was coming to help patients here, nearly every seat full. Well, tonight, what that airline is now saying. Here's Gio Benitez.
Tonight, a viral tweet sparking concern. A doctor shocked to board a packed United flight home after volunteering to treat COVID-19 patients in New York. Dr. Ethan Weiss worried about the flight just 2 days earlier, and before that, receiving an email from United saying it would automatically block middle seats.
I'm probably more likely to get infected there than I would be in the ICU.
United flying Weiss and 24 other healthcare volunteers for free, saying the flight was 85% full. The airline saying it is limiting advanced seat selection, but cannot guarantee that all customers will be seated next to an unoccupied seat. As people slowly return to the skies, Friday before Mother's Day saw the most passengers since late March. And you can see it on planes. This flight today, the head of the largest flight attendants union now calling for federal action.
We need social distancing policies. We need deep cleaning policies. We need these face covering policies, and it needs to be directed and coordinated by our federal government. Safety cannot become a commodity.
And David, tonight many are also pushing for temperature checks at TSA checkpoints, but so far the TSA tells us no decision has been made. David.
All right, Gio, thank you. And next tonight, new developments in the case of the unarmed African-American jogger shot and killed by a white father and son. Newly obtained surveillance showing the last minutes of his life. And tonight, the call for a federal investigation into the handling of the case. Here again, Steve Osunsami.
State authorities in Georgia who've taken over this case from local prosecutors are now asking the U.S. Department of Justice to step in and look into the, quote, handling of this investigation. The family of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, who was seen meeting his death in this violent recording, has been calling for federal hate crimes charges since their son was killed on this South Georgia street in February. Travis McMichael and his father Gregory are now charged with murdering the unarmed young black man in what they argue was a citizen's arrest. Gregory McMichael used to work in local law enforcement, and it's the actions of these two district attorneys, Jackie Johnson and George Barnhill, that are now under the federal microscope. Neither filed charges in the case. Both removed themselves because of their apparent connections to the gunman, and Barnhill argued in a letter that there was a fight over the shotgun and that the victim initiated the fight. Georgia authorities have replaced the white prosecutors with this woman, District Attorney Joyette Holmes from the other side of the state.
Now I have a sense of hope. At one point in the beginning, I didn't have any hope that anything would ever be done about it.
New video from the moments before Arbery was killed does show him stopping through a home construction site where he leaves empty-handed. The McMichaels told police they chased the young man down because they thought he was responsible for break-ins in the mostly white neighborhood. Tonight, the owners of that property underline that they have no connection to the gunman, and no matter what, they say they would have never sought a vigilante response, much less one resulting in a tragic death. The new prosecutor says she hopes to bring to light the justice this case deserves. The two men who are charged do not have lawyers at this point and have not yet entered a plea. David?
All right, Steve, our thanks to you again tonight. And when we come back here, the 3-minute call on Zoom, 3,500 workers learning they were out of a job. Tonight, the backlash.
To everyone navigating these uncertain times, whether you're caring for your family at home or those at work, Principal is by your side. We're working hard to answer your questions, like helping you understand what the recently passed economic package can mean for you. We're more than a financial company. We're a together we can get through anything company. Now, more than ever.